Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, patriots all over our great country that is under God. Welcome to tonight's Red America First Town Hall, the nation's most engaging, unfiltered platform where we, the people, call the shots. Red for the blood of Christ, not necessarily Republicans, America First policies, and the bold candidates fighting to reclaim our republic. I'm your host, Ashley Weiss. For 4 years, we stood as a beacon of unity and strength, draped in the symbolic red of our conviction, dedicated to America First policies and the Christian values that our nation was founded on. Here we gather not just to discuss, but to act, empowering our community through education, engagement, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Town Hall is igniting the conversations that matter. We are at the forefront of a movement to ensure a free, prosperous, and vibrant future for all Americans.
And I'm your co host, Valerie Weiss. Tonight, for our explosive final season finale, we're going to coast with two Republican warriors. First, Evan Power, chair of the Republican Party of Florida and RNC Powerhouse, fresh off the crushing Dem schemes and building an unbreakable GOP fortress in the Sunshine State. Then at 9 p.m., we'll unleash California gubernatorial candidate Sheriff Chad Bianco, who is ready to dismantle Gavin Newsom's radical leftist empire and restore the Golden State to law abiding, freedom loving Americans. Do not forget, we're taking our Christmas break to recharge for the fight ahead. We'll storm back with Town Hall on January 15th, featuring David Sorensen, and Pastor's Point resumes January 12th at 8 p.m., diving deeper into chapter 13 of the book of Revelation, because spiritual warfare is real, fix.
We need your warrior support to keep this mission charging forward. Our team thrives on the generosity of patriots like you. Even $20 fuels our national crusade against the deep state. Please go to givesendgo.com/redamerica1st/donate. And those that are joining our live stream tonight, we're looking to grow our live panel. Panel members engage directly with guests like state GOP leaders, Evan Power, and gubernatorial candidates like Chad Bianco. Additionally, you can participate in the famous state-to-state intel round. Sign up today at redamericafirst.com and tell us what state you're in and you want to be a panel member. RAF is rallying funds for two of our core pillars. The Christian pillar of faith and action for liberty will be Saturday, January 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the resiliency pillar for clean water for the Andes, our mission to Ecuador will equip at least 400 families with life-saving water filters and training. We're raising funds for travel, and details are at givesendgo.com/RAF, clean water for Ecuador. And that's where you go for that. Okay. For those locked into the live stream, we're expanding the entire panel. So like we said, go to redamericafirst.com. Every week on Town Hall, we start with prayer, Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem. So tonight, we're going to call on Teresa Wiggins, our fierce Christian pillar leader for Red America First. She's going to lead us into prayer tonight. Thank you so much for that in advance. Thank you so much. She doesn't got her video started yet, so there she goes. All right.
Nice to see you all. Let us pray.
Wait. I don't see you yet, Teresa. Hang on a second. I don't see your I don't see your video. There you are.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we lift this day up to you, Lord. We ask you to be with us as we have our final finale tonight for the year of 2025, Lord. We ask you to be with each and every one here, speaking as well, Lord. Be with our nation. We ask you to protect those that are in this group, Lord, as well as our family members, Lord. Protect them all from the evil one, Lord Jesus. And we ask you this all in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. beautiful.
Amen. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Now, let's get Rob Ohio up here really fast, and then Valerie Weiss, co-founder of Red America First, will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you in advance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you, Rob and Valerie, for that. We're going to go now with Naomi in South Carolina. She's going to do the national anthem. Thank you so much in advance, Naomi. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, thy bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Outstanding job.
Thank you.
Naomi,
That's
thank you
beautiful.
for that. So let's go ahead and get back up here. We're going to call on Evan to come up with us as well. And what a wonderful way to start this introduction with you tonight, Mr. Power. Welcome to Hashtag Town Hall. Before we get started, can you tell us a little about you? Where are you from originally? What are some of your hobbies? And thank you for coming on Town Hall tonight. Thank you so much.
So I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I came to Tallahassee, Florida because I went to Florida State and I never left. I started my career working for Marco Rubio when he was in the State House, and kind of turned that into, I became a county precinct committee person, became a county chair, and then over almost 2 years ago became the state chair here in Florida. And I have two kids. You may hear one of them who's running around right now at the moment, so that takes up the rest of my time. Is two we have two what a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old. So
Wow.
it's always an adventure around here.
Exciting. Well, wonderful. Thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Power. As chair of the Republican Party of Florida, you've been at the forefront of recent redistricting efforts that have helped solidify the GOP majorities in the state legislation and congressional delegation. What key strategies did Florida Republicans employ to navigate legal challenges and opposition during the latest redistricting cycle? And how can other states learn from Florida's approach to ensure fair and effective maps?
So I think what's important when you look at Florida is, yeah, we challenged courts pretty hard because there were districts we had drawn. There was a district that existed from Tallahassee all the way to Jacksonville. And if you know anything about that area, that's a long way to go. We share very little in common with downtown Jacksonville here in downtown Tallahassee. And so we challenged that district. We were successfully legally saying that you did not need to draw that district for a guaranteed minority representative. I think, when you have the Voting Rights Act in front of the Supreme Court, that presents some opportunities for change as we move forward. I know several other southern states are ready to act if the Supreme Court strikes down the Voting Rights Act. So I think we've been able to win legally here in Florida successfully because we've had some good courts and we have a good Supreme Court here. Hopefully the U.S. Supreme Court will strike down the Voting Rights Act and give everyone kind of that same freedom. But I think it's important when you look at this globally, is Democrats have weaponized redistricting. Eric Holder runs a PAC that's engaged in this stuff. And so when you look at New England, there are zero Republicans that represent New England. And so then when you get into places like Florida and Texas, they're like, well, we account for 40% of the vote. We need our fair share in Congress. They're not doing that in New England. They're not doing that in Illinois. They're not doing that in New York, and now they're not going to do it in California. And if you look at what they've done in like New York, they draw all kinds of crazy districts. In Illinois, when you land at O'Hare, you go through three different congressional districts on the runway. That's how creative they've had to get to do this. And so I think it's about time for Republicans to fight back because what we learned when we protect the ballot, when we de-weaponize what the works that the Democrats have done over time and there are free and fair elections, Republicans win those elections.
Right. Ironically, right.
So Florida has become a model for election integrity reforms. In fact, we got Dr. Douglas Frank, part of our election integrity group. And this includes measures like voter ID requirements and enhanced signature verification. In your view, what have been the most impactful changes implemented under Governor DeSantis and the GOP-led legislature? And how do you plan to address ongoing threats like ballot harvesting or the non-citizen voting that we keep hearing about that's going to happen in midterms 2026? Thank you so much.
So when you look at what happened in Florida in 2018, Governor DeSantis wins an election. We think we're going to sweep the entire cabinet. We think we're going to get a U.S. senator. And over the course of the night, after we've already declared victory, the vote totals start coming down. And not shockingly, in the places that you expect them to come down in Broward and Palm Beach County. So Governor DeSantis was very big at the very beginning of wanting to do some election integrity. And so we passed a bill in 2019 that addressed some of those concerns. And what I refer to as the key piece of our election integrity reform was the idea that supervisors of elections had to turn in within 20 minutes of polls closing the number of ballots they possessed. Because we can't accept vote by mail ballots here in Florida after 7 p.m. on election night. But what that did was take away the temptation of some of these places. You have workers who are looking at a stack of ballots. They know they're going to go their way. And as longer and longer as time goes on, it becomes easier to want to run those ballots. But when you have to report to the state how many ballots you have, you can't do that. So that was a key piece of that. We've strengthened our vote by mail program to where you have to give a piece of your social security number or your driver's license number when you make the request, so you don't have people going on a computer and making lots of vote by mail requests. We've done a ton of things to make sure that we have paper ballots here. We have an audit system that we continue to check the machines before and after elections. And then we audit some of the election results to make sure that they match up with what we were seeing when we did the counting. So you have all these safe stops in what we're doing. Now, you always have to be on guard because Democrats find new things to do. They want to create some supervisors will create new gimmicks. So we have to continue to pass bills year after year, kind of looking at those things. And I think, what we have done a good job of is cleaning our voter rolls. I think you don't go from, in 2018, we were down about 250,000 Republican voters to Democrats. Now we have a 1.4 million voter advantage. A lot of that had to do with cleaning up the rolls, which gives Democrats less an opportunity to cheat. It also gives us an advantage going into election day here in Florida because I know that those voters exist. I know I can find them, but we always take it on our side to make sure we're proactive and paying attention to what's going on so that there's no chance for Democrats to come back and do some of the things that they've done in other states. And I've joked with some of our friends all the way across to Arizona. Arizona, the legislature passed Florida election laws. Roughly, what was Florida election laws? Their governor vetoed them for obvious reasons. I think that Florida is the gold standard right now, but we're going to continue to work hard to keep it that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was working at Hillsborough County Republican Party under Jim Warshak during the 2018 elections, and our people, our leadership went down to Brevard County and counted the votes and had to deal with all that. So thankfully, because Ron DeSantis, so it was a close race, So, but I need the thing. Yeah. So I don't know what you're doing. I'm sorry, I don't know what he's doing with our questions. Okay.
Do that one.
With 2020 and 2022 fraud scare still fresh, conservatives demand ironclad integrity nationwide. As an RNC insider pushing Florida's proven reforms, what high stakes collaborations are you forging with swing states to deploy DeSantis level safeguards like banning Zuckerbucks, purging fake voters, and prosecuting fraudsters? How can everyday patriots join the crusade to safeguard 2026 and stop the deep state's shadow games?
So Chairman Watley created the first election integrity committee at the RNC level. We work very hard together to share our ideas. Most of the staff that is on that panel is from Florida, so we're sharing some of our victories with other people across the country. You also see that Chairman Watley, when President Trump picked him to chair, his two goals were to turn out the vote and protect the ballot. And Chairman Wiley did a great job. Chairman Gruters has stepped in and is doing the same thing. I think beyond just our grassroots teams watching the polls, and we have a very robust system at the RNC that we're building out, and you're going to have lots of opportunities when you work with your county and state parties to have your eyes on some of those ballots because we're going to build a national system on that. But beyond that, we've been very involved in lawsuits, and I think that at no time in the RNC's history have we been involved in over 100 lawsuits on election integrity. One of the big ones is that there's a Mississippi lawsuit that's going to the Supreme Court. It's talking about not allowing ballots to be cast or be counted if they come in after that 7 p.m. deadline, because in California you can take them for weeks later. I know I can only imagine that's why those results change weeks after they happen. But if you look at it, we're trying to be aggressive both on the legal front and building out an election integrity team. I was in DC last week and we were talking about how we're building that out and how we were going to staff it. So I know that's coming. I will tell you, under Joe Gruters, the RNC is going to be protecting the ballot and we're going to get out the vote. And we currently have an advantage in money by the largest margin we've had in history. So I think we're going to be able to have the resources to be able to get out the vote and protect the ballot, which will lead to Republicans win if we can do it successfully.
Yeah, that's great. Good news.
So you've transformed Florida from a swing state vulnerability to an GOP fortress. I mean, you can't touch Florida, right? With 1.35 million voter registration edge on the Democrats, supermajorities, historic wins, all while launching your podcast Power Play to rally top Republicans amid the Democrats' fake pendulum swing narrative. What secret weapons, fundraising, juggernauts, grassroots armies, DeSantis style policies drove this red wave? How will Florida export this model to retake the Senate and crush any Democrat holdovers that may exist and secure Trump's agenda in the midterms?
So when you look at what Florida did, I get asked that question a lot, is how's Florida successful? And I tell people the same thing every time. It is that we had people who ran for office and made promises on the campaign trail. And when they got in office, they delivered on the promises they made. Our governor's done a tremendous job. Our legislature's done a tremendous job. And we continue to move the ball forward. The other thing that we adopted very early on, and you're seeing it play out in some of the other states, Cliff Maloney talks about his ballot chase in Pennsylvania. It's built off of some of the same framework that we've done in Florida, which is I am committed to chasing every ballot that exists in the state of Florida that's legally able to go after. And so if you're a Republican and you have a ballot, I'm going to harass you until you turn it in. So what we did in the presidential election is we turned out a record amount of 86% of our Republican turnout, which was a modern day record. In Leon County, where I live here in Tallahassee, we turned out 90% of those Republicans. So it works if you get there and harass them and make them do it. We've shared that strategy with anyone who will listen. The RNC is very opening to listen to that, and I think with Joe Gruters chairing the RNC, he talks about there will be a podcast episode on Power Play coming out soon with Joe Gruters, where he talks about he may be lending me to some of these states so we can share kind of some of our knowledge and build out that get out the vote operation, because that's really how we became successful. If you look, 2018. Ron DeSantis wins by about 70,000 votes. And it was against Andrew Gillum, who was my mayor in Tallahassee, and you did not want him to be your governor. And we would still be locked down from COVID. I don't think we would have ever come out of that. But now The president wins by 13 points. Rick Scott wins by 13 points. And we love to crow about that because Rick Scott had never won an election by more than 1% until last year. So if you can turn out all those voters, you can have success. So we have to be committed to chasing every available ballot and making sure our Republicans vote.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. So town hall will now eventually open it up to our members, panel members that are on with us live. So those with us, Frank, Rob, and those, put your hands up and let's get the line going. Evan, just tell us, is Florida secure red for the midterms? And then we're going to go to our Q&A session. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're a secure state. We're going to do the blocking and tackling we need to do to turn out our voters. I think for the question for us is we're challenging two congressional members, Jared Moskowitz and Darren Soto, right now to try to pick up a few more seats. The redistricting is still in the mix. I think there's a potential for us to pick up 3 to 5 seats in redistricting, depending on which way the legislature goes there. So that will kind of influence where we fight and how we fight. But we're building the infrastructure we need to make it safe. I'm not worried about Florida, so I'm going to be worried about helping some other people in some other states because they need help in the Senate. We're bringing Michael Whatley down for a fundraiser down here in Florida in partnership with the RPOF because we want to help them so we can protect and expand the majority in the Senate.
Outstanding. We're going to start with Florida questions first. Our magazine editor, Rosemary, go with your question. Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you so much, Evan. I met you several years ago with Annie Delgado when I worked with her for Conservative Watch. And I really compliment you on all the things you have been doing. So, and I congratulate you. And at this time, I know there are certain problems, and I've discussed them with Annie as well, with certain districts. The Republican Party is not functioning as it should be because of certain people, some who might be rhinos, some who are really working against, excuse me, because I've had laryngitis, some who have been really fighting with each other. And there are conflicts within some of the groups. In fact, I left our group in Indian River County. I had been with them for about 15 years, and I left. I feel some of these, some of them are fighting against themselves. They're militating against themselves. What can be done? What is your view on it? And also, before I get cut off, I would like to ask you if you would kindly send us an article. I don't know if you have seen our magazine, and it's really one of the best. It's a little long, but we put in a lot of information. And we've been getting a lot of compliments on it. So please look at it and send us an article that I can include in it. Thank you so very, very much.
I will do that, and I appreciate that. What I will say about some of this is I've been involved in the party for a lot of years, going all the way back to Marco Rubio. And people forget that when Marco ran for the U.S. Senate, Charlie Crist cracked down on him. And I was, for a period of time, blackballed from the Republican Party because I supported my first boss in a competitive primary. And some people lose sight on what an REC and what a county party is supposed to be doing. And what county parties have to do is fight for every Republican nominee to get them elected. It's not to choose to have policy debates, not to do that. That's what clubs and other organizations are for. RECs and the party itself is an election organization. So some people don't quite understand what they are, and they've done things that are not helpful. So we're cleaning some of that up when the fights have become too divisive. We've gone in and acted. I'm probably the first chairman in a number of years that has actually removed chairmen when they break rules, which I think it's good. We have rules, we have to follow them. And beyond that, there's a level of protecting the Republican brand. Because if everyone's running around claiming they're a Republican and they're fighting with each other, it doesn't help us. So we've been doing a little bit of that. We're trying to clean it up. and we're going to continue to fight to protect the Republican brand. And I think that sometimes is a little common when you have as much success as we've had here in Florida, is everyone wants to grab onto that success. And so we have to be very good at channeling people in the right direction. The speaker designate, Sam Garrison, gave a great speech. If you have time, go to his designation speech that he gave on the House floor. He talks about Democrats were in charge of this state for 150 years. And they gave up power because they got so obsessed with who was going to hold what title and fighting amongst themselves, and let us claim the lead. We can't fall victim to the same thing. And so as long as I'm chairman, I'm going to fight to unify this Republican Party and to move us forward and do what we're supposed to do, which is win elections.
That's good.
Thank you. I am very happy to hear that. And if you would kindly give us an email so that we could send you a copy of our newsletter, I would very much appreciate it.
Yeah, my email is epower@rpof.org. So it's pretty easy.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Next question. We're going to go to the state of Nevada, since I can't get Allison or Tiffany to unmute in Florida. So we'll get Ron up here. Ron, Nevada, go ahead with your question. Thank you so much.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. And my question is, do you have any concerns about using voting machines in regards to the integrity of the vote? And if so, yes, explain. If not, explain. And also, is there any push by you folks to institute hand-counted ballots?
So we have, so I don't trust anything. Let me start with that. I've seen way too much shenanigans in elections over many years that I don't trust anything. What I know is I know the Florida system, so I'm only going to talk about the Florida system. But we use machines here. They are extremely tightly used and tested. So before you are allowed to use a machine in Florida, the Department of State takes the thing apart, goes through every piece of code, and in order to change the code in a election machine, you have to start over and go through the whole process. Beyond that, we have audits before and after the election of the machines where you can go and go watch them do the testing. The party chairs are involved in that. Beyond that, at the end of the election, after we're done, they will take a segment of our ballots, run them as an audit, and check them against how it was counted. So I believe in Florida, our ballots are safe and are counted in the correct way. Hand counting takes a ton of time. We're happy here in Florida, we get our elections done by 9 p.m. So there is no question about the integrity of the elections, and we can't find any fault in the counting. So I'm happy with what we're doing in Florida. In the way that we do it. And I think it's a safe and secure process. Obviously, I think in other places, there's a lot more opportunity for things to go wrong. But I can only talk about the Florida model because that's what I deal with on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So now we're going to leave Nevada and go to Ohio. So let's get Rob up here. Go ahead, Rob, what's your question? Thank you.
Good evening, Evan. Thank you for being on. You were talking about infighting as being how the Democrats fell and how you're trying to avoid that. The other thing that happens is complacency, where you have such a huge majority. What kind of ideas how do you motivate people to keep that majority?
Luckily, here in Florida, we're still within 8 years of having those really, really close elections. So people are still fired up. What we've done is, we've talked to our elected officials have done a good job of pinpointing on the issues that matter to people. We're having a very robust discussion right now about property taxes. And there will probably be an effort to eliminate or reduce property taxes on our ballot, which will help drive turnout. So for us, it's continuing to move the ball forward, which is keeping people engaged. And I think that this property tax debate is something that you're seeing on every front page, and every Republican has a very strong opinion on it. And so it's going to help us turn out our voters. But beyond that, you have, obviously a super majority here, but there's still areas we need to lead. And what we've taken the party into is we have a legislative affairs side of the party that takes people's opinions into mind and continues to run those ideas to the legislators so that they can continue to move that ball forward so we can have people excited about what we're doing legislatively also.
Thank you very much.
Outstanding. Thank you for that, Rob. So we're going to leave cold Ohio for a moment, and we're going to go to Hawaii. Our state leader in Hawaii, Victoria. Let's get her up here and go ahead and ask your question, Victoria. Thank you.
Aloha, Evan. So my question is actually, when in the 2024 general election, we had the passwords for the voting machines leaked online. You probably heard about the stuff going on about that recently. How did your state address that issue?
So our systems, I guess, is a little different because my supervisors haven't had all those problems. We're not also hooked up to the internet, so they're in a closed system, so they've really not run into those problems. It's not been anything many of my supervisors have talked a whole lot about because of the way our checks go through. So no one's manipulating the machines in the process of going through it. And because of the audit system, if someone changed it, they'd have to go and change it back. But then we could catch them in the audit on the back end. So there's several safe checks that we have that prevent that. But it's something we'll talk about, and we'll continue to talk about as we talk about new methods to have election integrity and move the law forward.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Victoria. Now we're going to go to another cold state. We're going to go to Minnesota next. We're going to call on our state leader of Minnesota, Amber. Go ahead with your question, Amber. Thank you.
Hello, Evan. Thank you for coming on tonight. What does the RPOF consider to be like the worst case scenario for the country's political future, and what does it look like for the party beyond simply winning elections?
Well, I think we've seen the worst case scenario, which is if you let Democrats get control, they are going to do a number of things if they have total control. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to pass every law that they want, and then they're going to stack the Supreme Court so we can't even get legal protection. That's what we're up against. We're against a party that has no moral pillars, if you will. They will do whatever it takes to win. And I talked earlier about the weaponization that they've done. They have turned this country into the ability for them to impose their electoral will. We were not supposed to win in 2016. We were not supposed to win in 2024. We won the Senate, and it was because our people turned out in such droves that they were unable to prevent those wins. What we have to do now is continue to lead on policy and continue to deliver on the promises we made to the American people. I've been on TV a lot today talking about the president's address last night. He's right on. If we tell the story of our economic success, we will win over the American people, because the fact is we're cleaning up the mess from Joe Biden, and he destroyed this country, and it's taken a little longer to fix it than we all imagine, but the prices are starting to come down. You saw the inflation reading today. It is in a much better place. When people get more money on their take-home pay next year because of the big, beautiful bill, it will start moving. But what we did in Florida is lead on policy. We have to hold our elected officials accountable to delivering on policy in Washington, D.C., because that is what will turn off voters if you do not deliver on the promises you made on the campaign trail. Luckily, President Trump does that and holds those people to their feet to the fire, but we've got to continue to do that as we move forward.
Outstanding. Thank you, Amber, for that question.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to another cold state, Pennsylvania. Sharon, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, so I have a couple questions here. In Delaware County, Pennsylvania, we have a serious problem with the rhinos here, and they don't like the grassroots people that are actually out there doing all the work. What what can we do better in Pennsylvania? Because I could seriously use all the help I could get here. I'm a minority inspector here at the elections, and I was the only Republican there in several districts, and I had to cover 2 districts myself. I asked the Republicans, our GOP, for help several times the last couple years, and I haven't received any help.
Well, I don't know a ton about Pennsylvania. I'll tell you my story about Pennsylvania is I have some family that lives in Pennsylvania. They are Democrats, and I helped your chairman raise money, and it was my name on a letter that went out. My family doesn't talk to me in Pennsylvania. I joke a little bit, but they're mad at me for helping them. What I will tell you is I'll raise that concern for you too, because I am familiar with Delaware County in that area. I'll raise that concern with the people at the Pennsylvania GOP to see if I can help. But continue to plug away, because we've had that problem here. There's been some areas you heard, there's some people who weren't happy in some counties that didn't build out in Florida, and then we're addressing those. I will make sure I communicate that to our partners at the Pennsylvania GOP so that they know I heard that today.
Yes, and we also when we work our elections, all our stuff is on the internet. We use the poll pads, and the poll pads need to go also.
Okay. Yeah, and what I did not say earlier on some of the election integrity stuff is that we have paper ballots here in Florida. Every ballot is a hard copy, so if you actually had to go back to the originals, we would do that if there was some kind of question about that.
Outstanding. We're going to come back to Florida. Tiffany, go with your question. Thank you so much.
We do this. Can you see me? Because I look like crap right now.
No, just ask the question.
I want to know his stance on Jay Collins.
Oh, okay. The lieutenant governor is a great guy. I talk to him quite regularly. I don't know what he's going to do. I think he's contemplating running for governor or not. We'll see what happens. But he's a veteran. He did a great job. It was a great partner in the Senate when he was there. He's been a great lieutenant governor. I try not to get involved in these. I'm in an awkward place because I don't get involved in these primaries. I'm friends with them all. What I will tell you is we're ready for whoever our nominee is, and we're ready to hit the trail with them and to build a program around them. So we'll see how that goes.
Outstanding. We're going to go back to the Aloha State. Victoria's got to go back. Go ahead, Victoria. Thank you.
I'm heavily involved with the Elections Commission here in Hawaii, and it is abnormally corrupt. So that's why I have a lot of information or questions. My next question would be, are you experiencing the same, I'll say the same, instances of having members of the GOP who are causing division and would seek to sow discourse? And in doing so, our GOP actually created a disciplinary committee to further, discourage that. Have you guys had to do anything like that?
So we have we prefer people to deal with their disputes locally. If they cannot just deal with their disputes locally, we have a grievance process that goes through that. And I talked about removing a chairman a little bit earlier. It went through that grievance process. I don't touch it until the very end. There is a committee that does it. Here's the evidence. They make a suggestion to the chairman, and it's my job to either ratify or amend their suggestion. And I'm the first chairman here in a couple of years that has taken the committee up on removing people. And I hate doing it because it's people I know, but sometimes you have to, if you're not enforcing your rules, you're going to create these situations where you have warring parties that don't get anything accomplished. And it's very important that, and I joke with my executive committee that I will carry the axe and hand out the punishment. It's not my favorite part of my job. I spend a little bit too much of my time on it now, but it's important that we follow the rules and are all working for the same goal. And especially when you get in a state like Florida, where we have such an electoral advantage. There are people who I think, and this is just my opinion as a personal level, is I think there are people that inject themselves to create a little bit of chaos, not to be the strongest Republican team as possible. So I'm always on guard against that.
I mean, do you have a disciplinary committee that handles any of that, or just you? Like
That's
it
the
gets
grievance.
over.
That's the grievance committee. They do that, and then
Okay.
I have to act at the end of it. So they make a recommendation, and I take it.
Congratulations.
Thank you for the questions, Victoria. Wow, it's really spinning up here. So let's see. We do have another question coming in from Florida. So good Lord. Tiffany's gone. We don't have another question from Florida. Okay. Gosh, we got 10 more minutes, guys. Let's see. I bet you Christian's got a question. Christian, let's go. Christian, California, go for it. You gotta unmute your mic. There you go.
Hi. I got a question for Florida. Are there going to be any processes going forward to help clear the waterways and clean up some of the waterway areas for maybe inland passages for boats?
I'm not sure on that. That's not my. I'm more election and not policy, so I don't know anything about waterways at the moment.
Thank you, Christian. Rosemarie, go ahead with your question.
Well, I am interested. I don't know how cognizant you are of the bill going into the legislature regarding the HOAs in Florida. And there have been many, many problems with HOAs, the overstepping of the management companies, as well as some of the people on the boards. And, you know, people own their property, and they are being, what can I say? There are impositions being imposed upon them. For instance, and I'll just give you one of the instances. When my insurance company told me I had to change my roof because every 20 years, the insurance companies want you to change your roof, even though I had it inspected and a drone went on and all of that. But I had to do that. But the HOA told me I had to stop it because of the fact that they have to approve it, they have to do this, and so forth. Who supersedes in this kind of a situation? Because the insurance company wants you to do something, you won't get insurance otherwise. So is there a possibility of the legislature addressing this problem? Because I know many people have had all kinds of situations and they've had to pay exorbitant fines and so forth and so on. So I am, asking you about this because there are a numerous amounts of HOAs throughout Florida.
We have a lot of homeowners associations, condo associations, and lots of boards in here in Florida. Representative Juan Porras, this has become his issue. He has filed a bill that would completely eliminate homeowners associations. I'm not sure the legislature is willing to go that far yet, but I think it's something they're going to talk a lot about this session, because you're not the first person that I've heard about it from. There's a lot of people who are complaining about some of these issues. And when you are in a state like Florida that had some insurance issues, homeowners associations played a significant role in some of the problems that occurred with homeowners associations. So I think the legislature is going to talk about that issue this year, and I think it will be an ongoing issue for a couple of years as we work through that.
Well, yeah, what I'd like to see, if a homeowner association exists, that the people within the homeowner association have the opportunity every few years to review all of the rules, regulations, or covenants so that they can then make some changes. If, for instance, they don't want any covenants, then, they can have their management company manage the gate area or the common grounds and so forth. And that would, be an advantage also within the bill if that were included.
Well, I'm probably a little more radical than some people. I would be okay with cities having to go to the ballot every 10 years to make sure that they codify themselves again. So I'm probably a little radical on this issue. I'm a big property rights person, and I don't like anything that infringes on people's property rights. I think that's the next big conservative movement over the next couple of years. You're seeing it here in Florida with Carlos Guillermo Smith and Anna Escamani, and they want to put rent controls in Orlando and tell people what they can do with their property and whether they can build on it. And so I think the next big issue for us, we had the COVID issues with freedom. I think the next big conservative issue is the right to own property, and that ties into property taxes, turns into homeowners associations, and it turns into property rights. So I think that's the next big war for conservatism moving forward.
I am really happy to hear that. And in addition, some people want to utilize artificial plants or trees and so forth. And this actually helps our environment because they do not require water in drought situations. They do not need feeding, or they do not need chemicals against some of the invasive some of the invasive bugs and so forth. And all of these seep into the aquifer, and then they are going into our river right now. I don't know if you're aware, but the Indian River here was filled with plastics that they found. And some of these things are really invading our wildlife and so forth. So I would like to see some kind of legislation in order to, cover some of these areas and allow artificial vegetation.
Interesting.
Thank you for that.
I did a lot of research. I have pages and pages which I can send you regarding that. So if you would like, I will do that.
Thank you so much for that, Rosemary. So, wow, lot of to unravel there. So Tiffany, and just hang on, Tiffany. Allison, go with your question. Go ahead, Allison.
I don't have a question. I love to listen.
Okay, sorry, Tiffany, go with your question.
Just, I see that Byron Donalds is endorsing you. What does that mean?
Well, he endorsed me when I ran for chairman. He was, I was lucky enough to, my predecessor got into a little trouble, and I had to come in a not a normal election cycle. And I was lucky that pretty much every elected official across the state of Florida got behind me and endorsed me to run for chairman and for reelection as chairman. And I won with all but 19 votes, so it was about 80%. So I feel like I'm in a great place, and it was a big win for me to have such support from our elected officials, because we're all working as a team now.
Thank you for that question, Tiffany. Going back to the Aloha Stay the third time, and Victoria's last question of the night for you. Go ahead, Victoria. Thank you. Oh, she's got to unmute. Go ahead.
Unmute. Okay, unmuted, supposedly. I am not going to ask that question because I'm going to assume I'm unmuted. Have you experienced a mass exodus of members of the GOP?
No, we're actually growing. So
Okay.
that's one of the things that's caused some of the friction in some of these areas is we're growing pretty much across the state. We've not seen a mass exodus. There are some people who will say things, but they stay with us anyway. But I think there are always those groups of people that feel a little different, feel what it is. But we've tried to do a good job of communicating if you're in the REC, you're here to win elections. If you'd like to be a part of a policy discussion, go join a club, go join another organization, and we're partnering together. And I was actually on a call right before I got on this, that I was talking to those groups about, that there are other opportunities. We've included club presidents, we've included outside groups into the RPOF, and we're giving them the same level of service we give RECs. So if they're with us 80 or 90% of the time, I'm willing to give them the tools that we're giving our RECs, which for us is voter registration, turnout, websites, communication, talking points, all of those things, so that they can feel that they're a part of our team. And we've actually felt that we've had more buy-in from some of our clubs and organizations because we're willing to treat them that way. So they may not want to go to an REC meeting every month, but they're willing to go to club meetings, and they can get the same level of knowledge that we're passing on. And so they're speaking the same language we are, which is helpful.
How can Red America First organization get that tool and help you?
We'll continue to have this conversation, but I'm happy to add you guys to what we send out so that you can see all the things that we're offering.
So to piggyback on what Victoria said, I'm kind of hearing alarming things from some counties like Manatee County, where, MAGA Republicans get the doors lock changed to the rec, and there's all this, rhinos are taking over. What is our strategy to keep Florida from going purple and blue in relation to the Rex? Sorry.
So Manatee County is my least favorite subject in the whole world, and I'm not gonna bore anyone with details. We were talking about the grievance process. There were 90 grievances filed in Manatee County. Locks were changed, bank fraud occurred. There was all kinds of things. So we took the rare step of shutting down an REC and restarting it. And the people who were not working to elect Republicans, they wanted to choose people in primaries, got offended, and then claimed they were real MAGA Republicans. I will tell you that I spent last week, I was at the White House, I was at the Vice President's residence. I don't think there's anyone more MAGA than we are in Florida. So I don't believe any of those lines, but it seems to be an organized method. And I think this is where some of the infiltration comes in, is people will use these terms in order to act like they're better than other people so that they can claim that they have some knowledge. But we're going to continue to give, we have recreated an REC in Manatee County. It's growing. They're going to have a fundraising dinner in February with Laura Trump there. So MAGA that, cool, if you will. And so we're doing a very good job of building them back. And we're going to continue to invest to make sure when we have these problems, we just don't leave them alone. We give them the resources to rebuild and rebuild stronger. And, that's going to let some people attack me because they want to have their narrative. But I think our election results and our structure speaks for itself. And I'll continue to invest that time and effort. And I've been to about 60 Lincoln Day dinners since I've become chairman. I visited almost every county since I've become chairman. So people see me, I spread this message, and I think that's why we get the buy-in.
Nice.
Outstanding.
I think it sounds great.
Teresa, our Christian Pillar leader, is going to ask the last member question. Go ahead, Teresa. Thank you.
Hi, Evan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for all your information. We really appreciate you and all you've done for the Republican Party. But my question is how do you feel about DeSantis wanting to make property taxes, go away? Because I really, as much as I think it would be so awesome, I'm not living here in Florida anymore, but my concern is look at all the people that's come in from California and New York, and then it's just going to drag more people here just for that purpose. And it's already feeling like it's so, populated now that you can barely stand even going out and going anywhere. So can you imagine what it's going to be like if they think they're going to get free, property taxes?
Well, I think I think it's a trade-off. I've been involved in this property tax discussion since my days with Marco. He wanted to do a tax swap, take the school taxes away. Hold on one second. He wanted to
Bless.
trade school taxes for off property tax roll to a sales tax swap. So I've heard all of these things. I think we create a culture where people come here. What we've learned is that the people who are coming here are Republicans. We're 15,000 votes away from flipping Palm Beach County, which was unheard of a couple of years ago. We flipped Miami-Dade County. We're closing the gap in Broward County because those Democrats from the Northeast that used to retire to Florida didn't like what we did during COVID, and they're moving to Arizona and other places instead of Florida. So we're getting the right kind of immigrants here from other states, refugees from other states, if you will. But we just got to continue to move the ball forward. On the property tax thing, I think there's pros and cons, and it's going to be a discussion we have for quite some time.
Wow. Absolutely amazing Q&A with our members tonight. One last hard hitter for you, Mr. Evan. How fired up were you by Town Hall's unfiltered energy, and will you return to drop updates on your wins against the swamp?
I'll be happy to do it. I enjoyed the questions because I don't get the question and answer nearly as much as I used to in this role, so I enjoyed that.
Outstanding. Well, we'd love to have you back, and you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, sir.
Yes.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
All right. On that note, wow, that was an amazing interview. We're going to transition now to the second part, and I got to tell you, I love the next interviewee because I want him to win the state of California gubernatorial race. And on that note, let's announce really quickly here, Patriots, we got to give a thunderous welcome to Sheriff Chad Bianco. He's here to blueprint his takedown of Gavin Newsom's failed regime and reclaim California for law and order. Great to have you storming the stage tonight, sir. Thank you for coming back to Hashtag Town Hall. Any updates you want to give us before we start our Q&A? Thank you for coming on tonight, sir. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Happy to be here. Not sure about updates. The campaign is going well. I guess it's been a little bit since I've been on. I guess the updates in the last couple of months is the last 6 out of 7 polls have me ahead of every candidate that's running. So I'm leading in the polls in this race to be your next governor. So things are going very, very well.
Amen to that. I wish I had my cheer button, man. That's exciting.
Absolutely.
Good to hear, Chad.
It's good that the numbers are showing that. We're certainly feeling it across the state as we travel and speak at groups and have town halls and meetings and meet and greets and things like that. So things are going well. It's right where we wanted to. We're probably ahead of where we thought we would be at this stage in the game, and we're happy the way things are going.
Very cool. That's great news. We're excited to hear that. So,
and I apologize. That is my wife's phone ringing. I have no idea where it is, and I don't know where she is to come answer it.
Well, we don't hear it, so you're good.
Oh, good.
So with 31 years on crushing crime in Riverside County, stabilizing budgets, bolstering forces, and championing Prop 36 to slam the door on soft on crime instantly.
Insanity.
Sorry, I can't see well. What brutal lessons from the front lines will you unleash as governor to dismantle Newsom's catch and release disaster? How will you arm every county to purge gangs, fentanyl floods, and repeated offenders, making California a no-go zone for criminals again?
Yeah, it's that's really the majority of people's concern in California. Crime is out of control. We have made it profitable to be a criminal in California. We will obviously, with my background, with my history, with what I have done in Riverside County, attacking crime and in every aspect of our communities, whatever your quality of life is, that's what we address in Riverside County. We will do that in the entire state. We will have a massive change of agenda. We will take this very, it really is it's a sick and twisted love affair that the Democrat Party, the current Democrat Party in Sacramento, has with criminals. at the expense of victims, at the expense of law-abiding residents. They just believe that criminals are victims of society. It's all of our fault that people commit crimes, because if we didn't work so hard, then they wouldn't have to steal the things that we have that they don't have. That's how they talk in Sacramento. And we're going to change that mentality. We will go back to you are responsible for your actions. You are personally responsible for victimizing people, and we will hold you accountable. We cannot have a civilized society if we are not going to have an adherence to laws, and we will make crime a crime again. We will hold people accountable. They will be jailed and imprisoned for victimizing us, and there's going to be a consequence for bad behavior once again.
Good. That sounds great.
You've crisscrossed California, hearing the raw pain from parents crushed by inflation, first responders betrayed by the defund police madness, farmers also, upset by the regulations, no water, and small business buried under taxes, with costs skyrocketing under Democratic rule. What are your top 3 aggressive day one strikes, slashing regs, unleashing energy independence, tax cuts to crush the high living crisis, supercharge jobs, and stop families from feeling or fleeing to red states? What are you going to do? Thank you.
You answered it. And I have to let everyone believe this. This is not about Chad Bianco being better than anybody else with better ideas or anything else. It's all common sense government. It's what government is supposed to be doing for its citizens of its state, of its county, of its city, whichever government you're talking about. And California government has historically done everything imaginable to harm us at the benefit of making California government bigger. And that's not how government is supposed to operate. So from day one, it will be my goal to get California government out of our lives. The main reason that California is suffering is because of overregulation and overtaxes, and those will be handled on day one. Taxes are a little bit different of a story. It will be a process, but it will be an easy process to get our taxes lowered. The main thing that we have to do is eliminate all of the regulation that's driving up the cost of living, that's driving up the cost of doing business, that's forcing businesses out of our state, that's forcing our oil industry from drilling oil, from processing oil into gasoline, all of those things. The beauty of all of that, stroke of a pen, all it takes is my signature to remove all of those regulations. And that's what I will be doing for the first several days, is eliminating the government regulations that are saddling our businesses with added tax, added costs of doing business, added bureaucratic red tape, all of those things. It affects our building industry, our fuel industry, our law enforcement industry. Every aspect of California is being influenced by horrible regulations that truly, when you really get down to it, the driving force is activism, activists, environmentalists. Activist environmentalists are controlling our state, ruining our state, preventing progress, preventing expansion, preventing building, preventing business, it all to appease activists. And I will tell you, I am the only person on your ballot, on this incoming ballot, that has the strength, the courage, and the willpower to say no to these activists. And we're just not going to run our state like this anymore.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because we go to California quite a bit because my husband's from there and his mom still lives there, so we're always out in California. So it's nice to feel we can go somewhere safe again. So I need number 3. So California's homelessness explosion is a direct result of leftist compassion, like you were just talking about, that enables addiction, crime, and chaos, tying the hands of law enforcement while streets become war zones. Rooted in your sheriff's successes, how will you deploy a nonsense strategy, enforce treatment, shelter mandates, and zero tolerance sweeps to clear encampments, hold vagrants accountable, and rebuild safe communities without wasting billions on failed programs?
Yeah, it's not so much of a how, it's just we're going to do it. It's okay. Again,
I like it.
This is not rocket science. This is just, are you going to do it or are you not? And right now, the current government agenda is we choose not to. And it's on purpose. We have to realize it's on purpose. Number one, we have to stop calling it homeless. It is not, doesn't have anything to do with homes. It is a drug-induced and an alcohol-induced psychosis, mental health issue that is causing everything that we see on the streets. And until we start treating it for what it is, we will never fix it. So from day one, we have to understand and realize that all of the money that is going to this is it is fueling a homeless industrial complex. They don't want to fix it currently because if it's fixed, the money flow stops. That money flow is your tax money taken from you. It goes to these nonprofits and NGOs who are not helping anything. They are getting their administrators, their owners, their boards absolutely rich. They are not helping anyone. And then a portion of that money goes back into the election cycle to get the same people elected again that keep that money coming for the next year. That ends with me as your governor. We will end all of that and we will put the money where it absolutely belongs: drug treatment, alcohol treatment, and mental health treatment. And then there's also a third area, but it's a combination of drug and alcohol abuse and addiction and mental health. When you have that combined right now, there is no help for those people. There's no place, nothing that we can do to get them help. No one will help them. We absolutely have to start addressing it for what it is, provide them assistance to get them clean and sober and get them back to being productive members of society, which every single one of them were at one point. It's the drug and alcohol abuse and addiction that is causing this problem. And we just simply fix it. It is inhumane to allow these people to rot in their skin on our sidewalks and die while we step over them and just ignore the problem. The problem will be addressed and it will be addressed quickly.
Okay.
Thank you. Those that are watching the live stream, we're going to get ready to open up Q&A with our panel members from multiple states to be able to talk and engage with the gubernatorial candidate of California, Chad Bianco. But first, as your battle-tested sheriff, you defy Newsom's sanctuary state lunacy. You've been seeing firsthand how the open borders fuel crime waves, the drug cartels, and the human trafficking madness that happens. What's your iron fist plan to seal the border, deport the criminals that are illegal, and partner with ICE to crush the sanctuary city problem and protect the American citizens while exposing the Democrats' betrayal that's, turning our California into a magnet for chaos?
Yeah, so that's the key right there, is exposing the absolute lies and failures that have come from the Democrat Party. So we currently have a closed border. Our border, for the first time in my 32 years of law enforcement, our border is completely closed. What we have now is the same drug traffickers and human traffickers that have tried to sneak, into our border throughout history. We still have those that are trying to come in, but we are stopping them. We are catching them. We are doing an amazing job stopping that flow coming in because President Trump absolutely closed the border. Now, Border Patrol is doing their job of fighting those people that are trying to sneak in. And then local law enforcement, we can come in behind and we can catch the ones that either sneak by or get by or somehow came across undetected. So we're doing a very good job of that now, and our border is 100% secure. The part about immigration enforcement, we have to realize this is not a state issue. The state does not have authority to do that. That is granted to the federal government in the Constitution. It is the federal government's role and responsibility to manage immigration and deport people who are here in this country illegally. What local law enforcement can do is we can cooperate with them in facilitating that transfer of, especially the ones that are in jails and prisons for victimizing us when they come into custody in sheriff's jails or in the state's prisons. We can facilitate that transfer over to ICE to get them deported. If they're here in the country illegally anyway, they're violating our laws and victimizing us. They need to be sent back to where they came from, not released back into the community. So that has to happen once again. That happened before sanctuary state law. And now they've just made it illegal for me to cooperate with the federal government. So there's a current state law that prevents all of that. So the problem with that is if I abide by state law, I'm violating federal law. If I abide by federal law, I'm violating state law and can be jailed, removed from office for that. So that in and of itself makes this an unconstitutional law, which is why we're suing the state right now to get that overturned. The problem that we have is an extremely liberal judge just made an absolutely horrific ruling and dismissed our case. So now we have to go through the appeal process to get it to the Supreme Court, which is probably better because the courts that are hearing it now are just extreme, far liberal that are siding with Democrats in anything that they want to do. So I didn't think that it would be dismissed. I thought that it would go through the process. It's completely obvious to anyone that looks at it. If you are causing me to violate one law in a decision that I make, federal or state, that in and of itself unconstitutional. So this is on its face unconstitutional, and we have a horrible, broken justice system where a judge is allowed to dismiss this case. It's absolutely wrong. So we're going to fight that. We're going to get that fixed. But as the governor, we'll just fix it anyway. We'll just do away with it and repeal SB 54. But it's there are two different things going on. The state is very, very limited in what it can do with federal immigration enforcement. But right now, we're not doing what we can be doing, and we definitely need to change that.
Yeah, that's a rock and a hard place, sounds like, for you guys. But
Go ahead.
Okay. Guided by unshakable faith, family values, and servant leadership, you're fighting to shatter California's socialist stranglehold and revive opportunity for all. For our kids, or California kids facing indoctrination and failing schools, unaffordable homes, and rigged economy, what's your America First vision for voucher-powered education reform, pro-family tax breaks, and deregulated growth to keep young patriots thriving in California, not bolting for freedom elsewhere?
Yeah. So again, that word regulation rears its ugly head. California is the most regulated state in the country. And again, the first several days are seriously going to be nothing but me signing my name on the executive orders that remove those regulations from every aspect of our lives. There is no reason why Californians are being punished just for living in California, more so than anyone else in the country that does not have to suffer or pay the consequence for being overregulated, only because California has an agenda, an economic agenda, and an unquenchable thirst for taxpayer money. All of that has to stop. It can be stopped with the stroke of my pen. Our education system is another government boondoggle that is just out of control in California. The indoctrination in our schools absolutely must stop. We have the ability to elect a superintendent of schools that controls the direction of our school system. So there's a fantastic woman running for that position, Sonia Shaw. We Californians absolutely must get behind her, make sure she wins. But in the event that she doesn't, and in the event that even when she does, I control the money. I control the money that goes to schools as the governor. I control the budget. And I mean, if they're not going to do the right thing, if they're not going to educate our kids, they're going to indoctrinate them instead of educating them, then they're going to get zero money. So it will go back to educating our kids, making them productive members of society, giving them that boost that they need to enter the workforce, enter adulthood with the tools needed to survive and make a living. It's not rocket science. I mean, we will change. We'll go really at one point in time, California was the #1 education system in the country. And now we're near the bottom. So it's been done before. How is it done? We concentrated on math. We concentrated on science. We concentrated on English proficiency. And we had a very, very robust skills program in schools. We taught welding, auto mechanics, electrical engineering, or electrician, be an electrician. Everyone doesn't have to go to school. There are some people that want a trade education to go into a physical labor force that is very, very, very lucrative. And we have stopped that. We have stopped doing it. And those trades, it's hard to find anyone to work on anything that we need. So we have to get back and give them the opportunity. The ones that don't want to go to school, we will give them the ability, the trades, the skills that they need to get into these different work environments and make a fantastic living for themselves. It's basically government providing the opportunity for us to be as successful as we want. We're not supposed to be restricting business, restricting workers, restricting your ability to make a good or a bigger living for yourself. Government is not supposed to limit how much you can make. Government is supposed to get out of your way so you can work as hard as you want to make as much as you want to supply whatever it is that you want for your family. And truly, that's what we're going to go back in California. I'm going to make it to where we are working to make sure that government is not hindering your life. Government is going to increase your ability to do anything you want with your life.
That's awesome.
Outstanding. On that note, we're going to start the Q&A with our panel members, starting with the California State Leader for Red America First. Christian, you get to kick off the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here, Mr. Bianco. I have some questions for you, but the real looming question on my mind is, what are your thoughts on reforming the DFG and CAL FIRE? Because in my opinion, those two organizations are beholden to special interest groups like the Sierra Club and Monterey Aquarium. And they've been totally destroying California. They're not cutting fire breaks, they're not clearing brush, and they're not supporting the water ecosystems with the animals.
Yeah. So you've got a couple of different things there going together, and you're right on topic. So number one, the biggest thing that's going on with that is we don't want to blame the firemen and we don't want to blame the fish and game workers. We blame the administration and the people that are controlling them, who actually are appeasing activists. It is activism. It is environmental activism that is destroying this state. There is zero place in government for activists. Activists are supposed to be heard on the peripheral, and then the adults come to the table and they make decisions based on all of the information that we have that benefit the majority of the population of our state and the benefit of our state. And we do not have that. Environmentalists, especially environmentalist activists, are a very, very tiny population in our state, and they are being appeased, and we are all being punished. So those two organizations, Fire and Fish and Game, are being controlled by a governor's office that forces these policies onto them, or even lack of policies. They're preventing. The fire department absolutely wants to clear out the hills around our properties so they can defend us in times of fire. The fish and game workers, our game wardens, they absolutely want to manage our wildlife how wildlife should be managed, but they are being prevented by horrific policies that prioritize weeds and bugs over animal population, a successful animal population, and humans. There are many, many, many states who do it right. California is not even close to doing it right. Not even close. And we need better leadership from the governor's office, pushing the agenda down. And I got to be unfortunately brutally honest. There are people in those positions that have absolutely failed in their duty to manage their organizations that can no longer be there. They are going to have to be removed from those positions of leadership, because they are truly the ones proving they have no leadership ability because they're not standing up to do what's right.
Wow.
That is wonderful. I have a follow-up couple of questions, but the fossil fuels, our beaches used to have tar all over them. When I was a kid, we used to have to clean the bottom of our feet just walking in Long Beach and on other beaches. And since they put in offshore oil drilling rigs, the beaches have all cleaned up. will you support the offshore drilling so that we can maintain our clean beaches?
Yeah. So yes, I mean, we will be oil independent in this state. We will no longer import oil into our state from other states or from other countries. We have more oil than any other state but Alaska, and we will make sure we utilize that oil. We will transport it. It will not be coming in, being brought in ships. We will send it to the refineries and pipelines, and we will refine our own gas, and we will go from there. This ridiculous notion that it's bad for the environment is asinine. Are there accidents? Of course there are. Are there breakage in pipes or in things like that? Of course there are. And then we have the technology to make it better. That's how you make things work. We will be 100% oil independent in California. We will drill our own oil.
I have one more really interesting topic that I posted today on Truth Social, and that's, would you support an aqueduct coming from the Mississippi River over to California? It would provide not only California, but Nevada with water, but it would also mitigate some of the flooding that they have downstream from the Mississippi if we pulled water across the United States. Would that be something that you could support to President Trump?
You know, that would have to be something that I would look into. I've never heard of that or thought of that. So that would have to be something that I would have to look into. That would entail massive federal work, because that's not the state. But here's the thing that I do support. California has more water than any state in the country. We get more new rain and new snow than any state in the country. 78% of it gets flushed out to the ocean. We need to store our own water, and we need to build our own aqueducts. We have one tiny aqueduct. There hasn't been a substantial increase in water infrastructure since 1978. So we absolutely must build more resources to get water from north and central down to south, and also distribute it throughout the entire Central Valley. Build reservoirs to store our water, give our farming community 100% of the water that they need. That water percolates down into the ground, fills our aquifers. We never, ever, 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 ever have another instance of drought in California. We don't have drought in California. We have a major water management problem, and that ends with me as your governor.
Yeah, I think I read something where the water is controlled by a corporation.
It's a private
family. Yeah.
It's a private family.
Yeah, it's
government corruption going back decades that absolutely needs to be broken. We do not do the same thing over and over and over again, because that's the way we've always done it.
Right.
When things are wrong, leaders step up and fix the wrong, and we start doing things right. California hasn't had a leader in the governor's office in decades, and it's long overdue.
And they need you desperately. I wish I could copy and paste you all over the country.
On that note, let's go to our anti-child trafficking pillar leader that lives in California. Walker, go ahead with your question to the new governor of California. Thank you.
How you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you.
I came by your office the other day after work and let you a note to give me a call regarding some individuals and 495. What are we gonna do about this? Where anybody can come out and sign out any child?
Yeah, so no matter what, so first things first, did you leave it at the downtown office?
Yes, I came over to talk to one of your captains, and he tried to get a hold of you, but you were out of town. I guess you were up north somewhere.
Okay, I'll look into it, see who has it, and see what the info is. I'll get back with you. But for the question, number one, after I'm there, or we will be fighting for it, especially from a law enforcement perspective, we will be fighting for a minimum of amendments and a maximum of a repeal of this absolutely horrific law. So what we have to realize in the meantime, though, and this is what every parent has to know, there are some built in the law with some language allowed for some massive safeguards for you to protect your kids, but you have to take advantage of it. You have to absolutely make sure you go and you take care of the emergency contact list, and you don't have you and your husband or you and grandma or you or grandpa on that emergency contact list. You have a list of 20 people, of both sets of grandparents, you, your husband, your uncles, your aunts, all of those family members that actually care about your family, because what the wording in that bill, they have to exhaust that entire list before they will just give somebody over. So that list, so this is how it would happen. If there's only you and say that you're the only person on the emergency contact list, and they call your number, you don't pick up. Oh, we tried. Okay, here, you filled out the form so you can have the child. That's a possibility if you don't have a list of 20. So you have the list of 20, they call you and you don't answer. So now they're going to call your husband. Your husband doesn't answer. So now they're going to call grandma. Grandma doesn't answer. Now they're going to call grandpa. Grandpa answers, and grandpa says, oh, hell no. No one's getting that kid, and we'll be right there. And now you've saved your child. So you have to have a list of 20. And then you can also, this is important too, on that emergency contact list, you write down on there that absolutely no one but you can authorize medical treatment for your child. Plain and simple. And then that way you're protecting yourself until we get this law amended or repealed.
Nice.
Outstanding.
That's great.
So Chad, we're going to go to a cold state now, Pennsylvania, and Sharon has a lot of stories, but let's see what she asks you. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, so the first question I have is I am a victim of an illegal alien here in Pennsylvania in Delaware County. So I've had 4 surgeries so far and no justice. The police were not able to do their job, which I'm looking after the police, because I will never forget the police were banging on their police car and saying they could not do their job because Delco was sanctuary now, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. And what would you do to save California?
Yeah, it's horrific. So we have the lawsuit now. We're going to get that repealed, unconstitutional, everything else taken away. And we're going to start being, so here's the thing. Number one, I am extremely sorry and upset that happened to you. And I mean, my heart goes out to you. My prayers go out to you. And we have to start fighting the lies that we are being told by the Democrat Party and by Democrat leadership. There are people dying and being injured on a daily basis all across this country that could be prevented. It could be prevented if these repeat criminals who were here illegally were being sent back to where they came from. If they're coming here illegally anyway, if they're going to continue to violate our laws, they absolutely must be deported immediately. And when we start talking about the truth, when the public actually learns, hears about stories like yours, I lost a dispatcher. One of my dispatchers was on her way to work, was hit by a drunk driver and killed. The drunk driver, it was the 4th drunk driving arrest, and the person was in the country illegally. So if any of the last 3 drunk driving arrests had been deported, my dispatcher would still be alive. We just had an 11-year-old boy killed that was riding his bike, hit by a drunk driver, illegal alien, multiple DUIs in his past. What is it going to take before we start actually caring about the lives of our residents here, and we start holding people accountable for criminal behavior? We absolutely must deport these people who are victimizing us. This is a no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. Totally.
Very good. Rosemarie is next from Florida. She is our magazine editor. Go ahead, doll.
Well, before I ask my question, I will ask you if you would kindly send me an article that I could put into the magazine, and it goes out all over the United States, I would like something from you, a page that I will dedicate to you because you have an outstanding platform, and I would like to get that into our magazine. So I hope you will send me something.
That's awesome. I can do that for sure.
Good, wonderful. And I have a question regarding the schools and transgenderism. They are pushing for transgenderism from pre-kindergarten right up through all the elementary grades. They're reading things about, even a teddy bear that thinks it should be girl when it's a boy and so forth. What can you do in order to change that curriculum? Because that is very, very important to do. Plus the fact, with regard to the upper grades, where you want to promote some of the trades, will you also consider apprentice programs and so forth, which have been used successfully in some other schools? And I have one other question, but first we'll get to these.
Yeah, so the apprenticeship program is amazing. There are a lot of federal government apprenticeship programs across the country. They operate in every state that we can be involved with. We can implement back into our school system the actual education into those trades, the training into those trades to begin with, and that's mandatory. We can all agree that should be happening. We should be giving kids the tools to be successful when they enter adulthood, enter the workforce. So we absolutely must start doing that. And tell me, what was the first part again?
Oh, this is why we don't do multiple questions, team.
I know.
No, I think she just.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, Chad, we'll get your input and we'll get it in the magazine. That's no problem. Yeah.
Oh, I know what it was. It was about the basically the mutilation of our kids and the trans movement. Yeah. So in California, I mean, we can all agree, if you are a responsible adult, especially with children, we can agree that mutilation of children is wrong. We can agree that mutilating the genitals of a 12-year-old is wrong. We have to stop this. We have to stop this from happening. It can't be encouraged. We can't be paying for it. And in California, they have actually, and here's another thing. Today, I spoke with a doctor today who said that this is the most criminal aspect of his career field that he can even think of, that there is a law passed that makes it legal for doctors to do this, knowing that they shouldn't be doing it. It's permanently maiming these children, and it has to stop.
Thank you for that, Rosemarie and Chad. Thank you. Now we're going to go to a cold state. Go ahead, Rob, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Welcome back, Sheriff.
Thank you.
You were saying you can just get rid of some regulations and change them at a stroke of a pen, but a lot of those regulations are backed by laws. Mm-hmm. And the legislative forum, they will fight you claw and tooth over that, and backed up by the judicial. Do you have any plans on how you're going to get them to take the knee to you?
Yeah, so here's the thing. You're absolutely right in the process, but they learned how to do this a long time ago. They learned that they could be held accountable for the laws that they passed. The lawmakers aren't held accountable for a regulatory board. So the law that they pass is very nonspecific and very obscure. When you look at it on its face, it's like, what does that mean? And what's that supposed to be doing? That's on purpose, written by lawyers to be extremely vague and non-committal. And then they turn it over to a regulatory board, and the regulatory board does their interpretation of that law. And then they are the ones that make the rules that increase costs, increase fees, so they don't have to call them taxes. They make rules, and they make rules that you must modify or face a civil penalty. And those are the things that I remove. I remove the regulation. There is no suing. They cannot sue over a regulation that does not exist. So the law is there. And so this is what we have to do. The regulations that they have made up, absolutely removed. And then I have 8 years to make sure that that underlying law is either repealed or amended so they can't do the same thing with it. And then even if I wasn't able to do that, the following governor in 8 years, they would have to go through that same implementing the regulatory process, going through that same thing over and over again to re-implement those regulations. And because of the success that California is going to have without those regulations, we, the voters, would never allow that to happen again. So I get what you're saying. You are 100% right. However, it's not the law that's causing the problem. It's the regulation imposed by interpretation of the law by a regulatory board. And those are the things I do away with. The only way the court can sue me is if I'm violating a law or a regulation. They can't sue me for taking away the regulation because now there's nothing to sue on. It doesn't exist. And that's the thing with the power of the governor's pen. With a regulation, I can strike them down and there's nothing they can do about it. Here, I'll give you proof. I'll give you
Strike them
proof.
down then, sir.
I'll give you proof just for those skeptics out there, because I know in the conservative world, there's a lot of us pessimists out there. In January, we watched the Palisades burn down here. 12,500 homes wiped out. The entire city wiped out. And after that happened, the governor was in a tough spot because it was majority Democrats, extremely wealthy, and they donated a lot of money to Democrat causes. And those people had the money to clean up their property and build again. And it was government regulation that was preventing them. It was the Coastal Commission and it was CEQA, which is our California Environmental Quality Act, which is basically the federal EPA on steroids. And so because he was taking a lot of heat for those two things being in place, he signed them away, removed them, but he removed them just from the Pacific Palisades victims. He could have made it easy for everyone in the state. We're all suffering from the same regulations, but he purposely only removed it from those people because he doesn't want the state to benefit. They don't want us to be free of regulation so we can prosper. They want government control. And I am giving all of the power back to the people here in California. California government is not going to have it.
Outstanding.
Thank you very much.
That was a good question, Rob. Now our Christian pillar leader, Teresa Wiggins, is going to ask the next question. Go ahead, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Hello, Brother Chad. Thank you so much for all you do. My husband and I will be praying for you because you will be such a huge blessing for California. You're just such a man of truth. And even though I'm nowhere near there, I really appreciate you. But I wanted to let you know that I was really disturbed yesterday, being that I'm from Florida and Tennessee. We don't have these issues because DeSantis and Marcia would never allow this evil to run rampant here that has been able to go on over there for years. But my concern is, the small business owners, how they can keep getting abused by these hoodlums, coming in, knocking them on the ground, like I saw on TV yesterday, and then busting up their glass and stealing all their jewelry or whatever it is they have in their businesses. And the Democrats saying, oh, they can get away with it as long as it's under $1,000. I just don't understand how you're going to be able to get a grip on all this evil that goes on there. But I know the Lord will be with you and we'll be praying for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We know we have our work cut out for us, but the good thing for the rest of the country is Californians are finally fed up. We are fed up with a failed government. We're fed up with bad policies, and everyone from both sides of the party. California is turning into an environment here where the normal people in California aren't fighting Republican and Democrat anymore. We're just Californians, and Californians are fed up. And we are going to take our stake back. Not only are we going to save California, but by doing so, we're going to save the rest of the country that's sliding downhill because of what's happened in California in the past.
Absolutely. We're going to call now on our tax pillar leaders. So those that have IRS challenges, go to redamericafirst.com and go to our tax pillar. We're going to help you with those challenges. Mike, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Chad, you come across as the smartest, most competent, and most qualified person in the race in California.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, how in the world can you possibly win with the voter fraud out there being so out of control? When Newsom was recalled, people were going to vote and told they already voted. There were 3 congressional races where the Republicans were up by quite a bit, and 2 weeks later, mysteriously, they all lost. Unless you have every deputy, every sheriff in the state putting their deputies out there to overlook that election, how is the Democratic Party going to ever let you win?
Yeah, so they definitely set up the system for their favor and for fraud. I mean, we have to all realize that mail-in ballots are designed for one reason only.
Right.
And that's why they keep them there. They want them there so they can abuse the system. So we first realized this. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. We didn't know the extent of it until 2020. And law enforcement across the state has made, even some counties have taken great strides to make improvements since 2020. We know that was just an absolute disastrous fiasco. And while we cannot prevent all fraud from happening now because of these mail-in ballots, we've done very, very well to eliminate a major portion of it. So this is what I tell everyone. President Trump, during 2020 and 2021, that's all he talked about was voter fraud, stealing the election, voter fraud, and everything else. So what we have to realize, and why he was successful this time, because he didn't say that once. If you are psychologically beat down by the perceived fact that your vote doesn't count, they're going to cheat anyway, that convinces you that you really don't even need to vote because your vote doesn't matter. And that's truly where we are. But what he did is he pointed out, never once did he say voter fraud or cheating or stolen election. But every time he talked, he said, we have to make this election too big to rig.
Right.
And the bottom line is cheating can only accommodate so much. If we all come out and vote, we're going to have a unanimous landslide election in this next election. And the proof is in the math. If it's only the same small percentage of people that vote every time, we'll probably lose. But what we have now is an environment in California where I have every single day, multiple people are coming up to me after I speak, and they're telling me that they are voting for me. They're my age. Some of them are older. Some of them maybe a little bit younger. And they are telling me that they are not only voting for me, that I have to win, but this is the first time that they've ever voted.
Wow. That's amazing.
What we have, and this is all across the country, is we have a patriotic problem where our number one duty as patriotic Americans is to vote. And we don't. So in California, it's anywhere from 40% to 70% of the people don't vote, depending on the election. So only 30 to 60% of the population is voting in all of these bad people. So what, like California, everybody, they all say California is predominantly Democrat. It's overwhelmingly Democrat. The reality, 45% of the state is Democrat. That means that 55% is not. We just need to start getting to the polls, and we need to start voting our values instead of party only. And then we're going to be successful here. And so we know that there's going to be a little bit of fraud that we can't get through, but we also know that if we all come out and vote, there's no amount of cheating that they can do that's going to matter.
Absolutely. Mike, just pick up your hand and we'll get you back to ask your second question. Frank in Kansas, go ahead with your question. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley. Hey, Chad, this has been a pleasure listening to the answers to the questions, the momentum that you have in California. One of my dear friends, Charlotte O'Hara, was on Ashley and Valerie's show. She's a gubernatorial candidate in Kansas. She's a dark horse underdog in the area that she's fighting. I don't know if you have, if you are chosen as governor, if you have the authority to overcome what was the COVID protocol, the hospital protocol that was it's still in action across all the states that I know about. But, can you speak to that area? Because right now it still is in facilitation. Hospitals or clinics, medical facilities have this protocol on their database. These doctors and nurses are still doing this where they apply basically narcotics. They try to institute the COVID jab if people have it. They go down the path of remdesivir and then, the area of a ventilator. As governor, can you do anything about this?
Yeah, some of the issues are federal statutes that are in place or that they're using, but everything that is local, everything that is state, the California State Public Health Department has the majority of control over our hospitals and sets the agenda and sets the path. And the answer is absolutely. We can do everything we can to stop that, to get away from these protocols. And just because you're saying it and we're acknowledging they are there. How sad that we are being told over and over and over again how dangerous and deadly those protocols are, that they did not help, and yet they're still there.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense that rational adults are having this conversation.
No, and I agree. And some people up in Yuba City, Pastor Dave Bryan and Cheryl Bryan, who run the Church of Glad Tidings, have been very involved in bringing some of this going way back to the very beginning. And I do some work with Dr. David Martin, who's brought this out. He brought this out right in the very beginning, what was going on. But it persists. And I think, the country is very frustrated because so many people were basically murdered in these hospitals. And some of these cases are starting to come up, but most of the AGs in the states have turned a blind eye to this condition. And it's something that, unfortunately, the carry over of what the injections or the the follow through has been with these COVID gene therapy shots. We're not going to get out of this unless we do some very fast acting at the local levels. And again, Florida, the gentleman that was on earlier representing Florida, obviously that state and Joseph Ladapo has done a great job moving things off of the mandate kind of scenario, whether it's for local schools, things of that nature. And I would like to see this, well, most of the people on the program would like to see this across the country so we can get out of this mess and deal with it before the next thing kicks in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on the same page, and we need to do everything we can to get back to allowing doctors to treat their patients instead of government telling doctors what they can and can't do under threat of duress of losing their licenses.
Yeah, very good. Good questions, Frank. Sharon, Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple questions.
No, you have one question.
Okay,
Ask one question.
I am going to add on to what he said about COVID. I was asked to see Vance, Vice President, on Tuesday. And he's been called a conspiracy theorist like several times all over the place. And he said, yes, I'm a conspiracy theorist with one thing. 3-year-olds should have never been wearing masks in daycares. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to punch through here. I think I might have been having some difficulties here because I was only hearing like every third word. So I'm sorry. You're gonna repeat the question and make it like succinct.
Okay. So on Tuesday, I was there when Vice President Vance was here in Pennsylvania. And several people, the fake news have been calling him conspiracy theorists over COVID. So he said, yes, one thing I'm a conspiracy theorist is 3-year-old babies should have never been wearing masks in daycares. What are you going to do about that so that never happens again?
Yeah, I've been extremely vocal here since 2020. I refused to force anybody to wear a mask. I refused to force my employees to be vaccinated. Any law enforcement officer in California that was fired for not taking a vaccination, we hired them. This is just an absolute, not only overreach of government, but it was an absolute opposite action of what doctors were even saying would work or would matter. And so the problem that we have with the Democrat Party is their answer to everything is to they're lying about everything. And when we start telling the truth, their way around it is to convince everyone that we're crazy, that we're conspiracy theorists. No one wants to be a conspiracy theorist. But here's my answer, or here's my statement to everything that they were saying to Vice President Vance. And this is what he should have said. Tell me one thing that the conspiracy theorists weren't right about.
Yeah, tell us. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing. We're batting 1,000. We were right on everything. So stop with the name calling. We're not racists. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're not any of these things. We're rational adults that aren't afraid, and we don't necessarily believe in indoctrination and government control. That's it. Plain and simple.
Going back to California, do you have a Ventura office?
We have people that are working for us, like what we're called captains of every county. Some are way more advanced than others, way more people than others. But we do have people in Ventura County.
Christian, go with your question.
Do you have a contact number for anyone in Ventura County so that I can get in contact with them? I live in Ventura, and I have not seen anything about your election office or how to contact you. So I would like to get more information, and I would like to disseminate information for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to see what this is. And maybe somebody just tell me really quick, is there a way to instant message in here? I don't want to give out.
Yeah. So Mr. Bianco, I just wrote you directly.
Oh,
you
perfect.
give me the info and I'll hook Christian up. All right.
Love it. We can do that for sure.
Thank you.
Thank
no
you.
worries. Thank you, Christian. All right. That was a very good question. Now we're going to go to Florida. Our magazine editor, and she's like my second mom. Rosemary, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but right now there is a push for atomic fusion in order to bring down the cost of energy.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you feel about it and what you might do in California in order to implement that kind of a program.
Yeah, I will make sure that while I am the governor of California, California moves over to nuclear power.
Yeah, the nuclear fusion does not give out any carbon dioxide or anything. It is totally clear. the
Yeah. Oh,
nuclear.
yeah. I mean, we're preaching to the choir now. We're being lied to, and our fears are being played on. And they show you pictures of Chernobyl and pictures of Hiroshima after a bomb, and say that this is what the outcome could be. It's an absolute lie. We have the best, strongest, most capable military in the world that is operating in the ocean for a year at a time on nuclear submarines under the water. They are not unstable, and they are not dangerous. Nuclear is not what it was in the 70s and the 80s. There are other countries in Europe that are already moving and have already implemented nuclear electricity, nuclear powered electric plants. And we absolutely will do that in California.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amber, our state leader of Minnesota, has got a question. Go ahead, Amber. Sorry.
Good evening, Sheriff. Thank you for coming on tonight. I would just like to know your opinion on what you think on what's going on in Minnesota right now.
I think it's a travesty. I think that when we were learning in the rest of the country of all of the Somali people that were being brought into that country by the tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000. I mean, everybody knew what was going to happen, and now it's happening, and we're surprised about it somehow. I mean, this is a travesty in America, and we absolutely must remedy it, and we must remedy it quickly. We absolutely know that I'm going to say every government agency is going to have some type of abuse and fraud. But how many do we have to learn about in Democrat-controlled cities, towns, and states where there is absolute rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of our taxpayer money? You cannot convince me ever that the governor of Minnesota didn't know that that money was being stolen and abused. The same as our governor of California knows that the $25 billion missing that he can't account for homelessness, he knows that where that money went. It went to their nonprofits. It went exactly where they knew and wanted it to go to. And that's what's happening in Minnesota. They knew that money was being stolen. They knew that money was being abused, and they just didn't care because that entire voting bloc was voting for them again. And that money train just keeps coming. There needs to be a ton of people, including your governor, that goes to jail.
Amen to that.
Absolutely.
Yep, I completely agree. Amen to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. And the last member question before we wrap it up with you, Chad. Liz, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Yes, Sheriff, thank you for joining us this evening. I just had a question because I've met several Californians here in Florida that are quite homesick, but they left because they were afraid for their future. They were afraid for their families. And with the media bias that's out there, how would you envision getting your message across the country to them so maybe they can have that hope that they might actually be able to go back home?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because nobody left California because they wanted to. They left California because they felt like they had to. Their businesses were failing. They needed a better environment for their kids, their work, whatever the case may be. And we do need to fix all of that to bring them back. So all of those people across the country, everyone in California or everyone across our country has a vested interest to make sure that California succeeds. Because if we go back in history, we know there's an actually saying that so goes California, so goes the rest of the country. And we know that is true. We absolutely must make sure that we right and fix California so the rest of the country follows suit. And everyone can help. You can help by sharing social media. We all have friends that either from California or that are in California that have friends and relatives that are in California. And the beauty of what we're doing right now is it's free. Social media is free. Podcasts are free. All of these things are free. We just have to take advantage of it and do it. And I'll end it just by saying this. And I appreciate you even asking the question on how you can help, because that's what we need, is people that want to help. I am dedicating every single day until primary election day in November, all day long, to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to win this election so we can save our state. But what I ask the people that I talk to every day, that's what I'm doing. And everyone likes to say, well, what are you going to do when you get here? What are you going to do with taxes? What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this? And my answer when I get to this point is, you know what I'm going to do. Now, what are you going to do to make sure that I get there? And that answer is, you have to do everything you can. You have to spread the word. You have to help with the campaign. You have to share social media, follow my social media pages. These are all things that are free. And when we all start standing up and demanding something better, that's how it's going to happen. And we can make it work. We can do this, and it's going to take an army to make sure that we rescue California, but we can do it.
How do we get to your website?
BiancoForGovernor.com, and all of my social media pages are Sheriff Chad Bianco, all of the platforms.
So one last question for you, sir. How did you like Town Hall, and would you come back in the future to give us an update?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely appreciate the interaction, the questions, the engagement. This is what it's going to take to platforms just like this, spreading in every single community across our beautiful country, for us to take our country back and make sure that it doesn't fall down this path of socialism and anti-Americanism. You guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you, everybody, for your questions and support. Truly, truly appreciate it.
Well, we're happy.
We are so appreciative you came on. And
we're going to try to help you get to the finish line, because we need to fix California. And Chad Bianco is our guy. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, sir. And we're going to have you come back. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
have a good night.
So now we're going into the intel round, state to state. I'm going to bring up some of my state leaders, some of my pillar leaders that are on tonight. I noticed Magaso's not here, and that's okay. I'm going to check on him to make sure everything's good. But for everyone else, you know the drill. I'm going to need some help while we walk the dogs and whatnot. So, gosh, Victoria, I'm gonna go ahead and call on you, and then Amber, and then we'll get this going. What did you think about tonight's doubleheader, and what did you learn, Victoria, and then Amber?
Really powerful, like solid people, I think. I personally, I think there could be a little more deep diving into the Elections Commission, just because I know there are multiple ways of manipulating the vote. I'm not too awfully certain that that's actually being done. Sheriff, awesome, solid, very much a go-getter. I am a little concerned just because we're having that issue where they're signing up a bunch of bills by the governor, like, I'm going to sign it all away. And though the will is genuine and for the betterment of the people, what we're finding is that we're getting kickback. Well, in our case, it's the roles reversed, but legislation. In order for it to, take effect, you have to go through legislation. So we now have a lot of legislation going on, unfortunately, which takes forever, as you all know. Yeah, it would be great with a stroke of a pen, but you can have resistance in there. That's the system, unfortunately. I will yield at that.
Awesome. Thank you for the help with that, Victoria. Amber, what's your thoughts? Thank you.
I thought that they're both informative. I am glad that there is somebody going for California governor that's not afraid to stand up and do and say what needs to be done, I guess, against, I have family there. So I guess I really hope that something changes, just like I hope someone changes here. And we just need to keep fighting. And I guess they gave a lot of informative stuff on how to go about doing different things for our state. So just keep plugging along, and just as long as we keep doing what we need to do to keep getting people like them out there to keep doing what they need to do.
Awesome.
And And then at that, I yield.
Thank you for that, Amber. Christian, big deal tonight. I got, I made sure you got, some questions in the beginning because that's what we try to do for state leaders when there's a gubernatorial candidate on. We try to make sure that there are state-specific questions that come out of state voters first before we go to everyone else. What did you think of Chad's answers? I was curious.
I thought that that was very, very informative. He gave some great answers. I'm actually quite excited that I had an opportunity to speak with him. I know that the other Republican candidate is making up some serious ground, but I do know that he comes from a country that is rife with socialism. So he's probably not as strong a candidate as Sheriff Bianco. And I was quite pleased at hearing what he had to say. I think that he needs a little bit more time to hear from other people about some of the issues here in California, like the homelessness. And he did hit it head on the head with it's not just a homeless problem, it's a drug problem and psychological mental problems. In California, we got rid of our state mental institutions. And I think that we need to consider bringing that back to actually, whether it's an outpatient type of situation or an inpatient situation, but where we can get some of these people some real help and not just let them exist and not perpetuate the problem. So I'm hoping that he's amicable to hearing something like that. I hope that with the water drought situation, I hope that he's amicable to hearing possible solutions to bring water in, to actually make some of the dams that Gavin Newsom, he tore down 4 dams, and we have a lot of reservoirs that are just flat out empty. We have 4 in Los Angeles County that are empty and dry. And they're fully capable of holding water, but they've never filled those dams. It would be interesting to hear that. And I would actually like to help his campaign. So I would like to get involved.
Awesome. Well, that's what it's all about as a state leader, Christian. And we're gonna 2026. You're gonna have a lot of actions. So don't get get ready is kind of what I'm trying to say. Get ready because 2026 you're going to be doing some cool stuff for RAF and California. So good job. I'm glad you liked it. Rosemarie, from the Florida perspective, what did you think of what Evans shared with us, and how did you like Bianco? Thank you so much, Rosemarie.
Well, first of all, I was very impressed with both of them. Evan Power is certainly doing what needs to be done in Florida in order to keep it red. He is addressing some of the concerns that, I expressed and some of the things that I hadn't been aware of. And I'm happy that he is going out to other states or has been asked to go out to other states so that he can also help them and guide them in what needs to be done, because I think Florida is the #1 state as far as what is going on here with the Republican Party and our voting system. As far as Blanco, I thought he was very impressive. He's very knowledgeable and has a grasp on many of the issues that are affecting California. I have heard the other candidate as well, but I think Blanco is far superior. And I like the things that he said about the, bringing certain things back into the state and the controls that he would like to get rid of with regard to people's freedoms and so forth, and what he wants to do to help people. And I think the problem with the homelessness is not only the drug addiction and so forth. There are a lot of people that are illegals and are homeless as well. And they are on the streets in San Francisco and so forth. And they are also causing a lot of the crime that has increased throughout, California. So I think he is on the right track, and getting rid of all of these restrictions and so forth in building. And I think that's going to be a big plus. So I was, I'm very happy to see him run, and I hope he wins.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Rosemarie. Sharon, you're next. Don't worry. I see Brett as well. Brett, you're gonna have to help me out tonight in the intel round. I'm gonna walk the dogs here in a second. Ron will be first. Sharon, go ahead. What's on your mind?
I just want to say I liked both of them. They seem very concerned about everything that's going on. Too bad we don't have either of them in Pennsylvania. But the other thing I wanted to ask them, I'm really concerned about the schools. The other question I was going to ask, are they going to bring back cursive, basic math, and writing and reading back in the schools?
Yeah, we do need to get cursive back. They don't want to teach cursive because
the Constitution.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You picked it up, Sharon. Yeah, good point. Make no mistake, Chad Bianco is going to come back to this platform. We have good connections with him, and he likes what we're doing. So he will be back, and you'll be able to answer those questions. On that note, let's go state to state. We're going to try to change things up this week. We'll try to keep it at a 3-4 minutes per state, and then we'll go to the national news segment. Brett will help me while I'm gone. Ron, Nevada, everyone pay attention. This is how we do it. Ron, you're going to kick it off. Thank you. I love you guys. We'll be back.
Okay. Let me get over to where I need to get, and I'll start. And all right. Okay. BlackRock just bought 50,000 homes for $300,000 each. They then sold them to themselves, another subsidiary, for $700,000 for 3 of them. And then they rent them out after that. So you don't own it, you just rent it. And they're a company that something needs to be done with them because of doing things like this. That increases your property taxes when they do things like that. Okay, I found that Brown University shooter is a Muslim, and the police and local officials in Rhode Island have been given strict orders not to say what the shooter shouted. The shooter shouted Allah Akbar before he opened fire. Nevada named the 6th most affordable state to start a business. So that's interesting.